The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everyone, welcome to our BeWise webinar on patient navigation in the database. We're glad to have you. Just a little reminder, if you could all keep your phones on mute, that would be great. You can ask questions. We'll have questions at the end. So you can unmute your phones if you have questions at that time. We'll wait and hold off on all questions until the end. Or you can use the chat feature online if you're not using your phone. If you don't see the questions or chat feature on your side panel, you can go to View, and it should you should be able to pull up your questions chat box through there, through that way. So we're going to go ahead and just jump right in and get started. We will do introductions here just so you know who's in the room. And then we'll turn the time over to Nicole Stone to go ahead and get started. So I'm Kimberly Enner. I work at Utah Department of Health BeWise program with the lifestyle coaching portion.
Okay. So I'm Nicole Stone, and I manage the data for the BeWise program. And I'm familiar with the database, so I probably have spoken with several of you or emails regarding issues with our data collection system.
Okay. Mercedes Rodriguez, and I'm a health coach for Salt Lake County Health Department.
Alicia Duquara, also Salt Lake County Health Department.
I'm Rebecca Meekum, I'm a health coach at Salt Lake County Health Department.
And Rosa Alvino, another health coach at Salt Lake County Health Department.
Okay. So this is Nicole. I'm going to just give a quick background and overview of this crazy feature called patient navigation in our system. Several years ago, we had the need by our nurses here at the clinical team to be able to manage all the interactions that they are having with their clients that weren't being captured just through notes. They wanted to be able to track how many times they talked to the clients and how many times they sent letters and what happened with those phone calls and letters, if they were returned. Or there's just no way to do that in the system that we had a few years ago. And at the same time, we were really getting into our health coaching and lifestyle intervention system, and it was really apparent with all the clients that people were seeing that we needed a way to manage those clients as well. And so the idea was that we could create a system that could really work for both. A lot of the things that we do as far as scheduling and calling and sending letters are really similar to what the nurses do from here with their managing their patients. So our programmers worked with some of our staff here on what the needs were, and they created this system called patient navigation. And this is a system that can be your best friend once you really learn how to use it. So we wanted to show you today how you can use it and the things that I think will be really helpful for everybody. People that have a lot of clients to manage where they're seeing several BeWise patients every day, and those that only they do BeWise once every couple of weeks, or once, if they do a couple clinics every month. It's just as useful for that too, because that way you can schedule them right when you're in the client record, and you can bring it up so you know who's coming. You don't have to keep a separate paper record. So we've got people here today that are going to show you how to use all these different features. You're probably familiar with the screen that's up right now, and you can see at the top, this might look a little different than your systems because this is being run off of a state server, but you can see here where I'm pointing, this is patient navigation. This is one way to get into patient navigation if you come into work and you wanted to see what you had going for the day. You could just get into the database right here and click on patient navigation. And right now, what it says, because we're signed in as Joanna, several of you know Joanna, these are clients that we've been testing and Joanna has scheduled. But if you were to select somebody else that uses the system a lot. I don't know who to click on. Let's see. I should have been thought of this ahead of time. Oh, here's Rosa. So, so whoever is signed into the system, the system will default to that person as up here where it says assigned to, and this will tell you all the interactions or things that you've scheduled yourself, or all the things that you've put in there manually. So you have to do it. You have to do it through the patient record, or you can just go into patient navigation and click down here and click new. So I'm not going to show you. I don't use it myself, in that I don't schedule clients and everything. So that's why we thought it'd be really helpful to have real users show you how they do it. So I think I was just going to show you that, and then I can show you, let's see here. I think that what we'll also see today is how to get into patient navigation through actually a lifestyle intervention session. So those are the two kind of main things that we use it in the BWise program, is to schedule people for their next session, or to schedule a reminder call, or send them a letter. But there's so much more you can do with it. Once you're in that record, you can document what happened with that phone call, if they didn't show up, and things like that. So it keeps track of all of that, and it's just a really helpful tool. So I think I will turn it over to the next, I guess, with Bear River. Okay, so Holly, if you're on still on with us, I'll have you go ahead and we'll switch over to you, and you can show us, Holly from Bear River is going to show us how they use the system there.
Perfect. Okay, actually, Holly and Monica, so Holly Budge and Monica Tinell are both here from Bear River, and Monica and I are both lifestyle coaches. We're actually in the clinics, and so we do the initial LSI with the clients, but then we also do all of the follow-up. So we're lucky that we get to see the clients that we actually also saw in the clinic. So what we're going to demonstrate first is when you're with a patient in the clinic, how you'd go ahead and schedule those follow-up LSIs. And then Salt Lake will later be walking you through then how you know who to contact on those follow-up LSIs. So we're kind of bouncing around a little bit, but I think it will still be great and will make sense. So what we thought we would do is I'm going to pull up a patient. Again, these patients are coming from a fake database for confidentiality, so don't be worried about that. But we are going to look at Maria Lugo, and we're going to assume that Maria is there with me in the clinic.
Holly?
Yes?
Can you maximize your screen, please?
Oh, yes. You told me that.
You.
My bad. Okay. Hold on 1 second. Okay. So we are in clinic with Maria, and okay, we've got to keep maximizing. So one little thing about Citrix is that is kind of a little bit of a pain, but here we have her, and we've done our session, and we need to schedule an LSI. So if you notice, we're here in the session tab, and you'll go over here to this other little tab that says Schedule Next LSI. If you click on that, another screen pops up, and it's a little bit different than it is, again, usually because I'm logged in as me, it would already have defaulted to me, Bear River Holly Budge, but since this is a test database, I have to enter that in now. And I'm going to click New, because I'm going to create a new follow-up LSI for Maria. So after I click that, it will say, it gives me this window. And again, I shouldn't have to select this BWise LSI. That should automatically default. But again, being a test database, I've got to select that. So then the first thing you'd want to do is you kind of need to know what the schedule is of when you should follow up with these individuals. So for a first follow-up LSI, it's generally 2 months after that initial clinic visit. So you would change the plan date to 2 months out. So we'll put that as April 20th, and then who it's assigned to. And then you can go ahead and fill in all of these screens to give yourself information about, did that patient want you to phone them? I have some patients that like me to email them. There are a couple that we have to send the certified mail to. So you'll know that from the visit, and you'll click that in. And then once you do, you can see other things pop up that you need to assign. So I always ask the patient when I'm in clinic if it's okay if they don't answer, if it's okay if I leave a message on their machine so that they could call me back. Or I also ask if it's okay if I leave information with another family member just for their confidentiality, but our goal is generally to reach the patient. If they need interpretation, you can make note of that. We're fortunate here at Bear River that Monica contacts the Spanish-speaking women and I contact the English. Our purpose is individual LSI session, so we can click that. And then at that point, that's generally all I will enter in, because this is going to then save it in the system so that come April 20th, I will know that I should call and follow up with Maria. And the rest of it you would fill out when you make that, when you're able to successfully contact her. And so we'll talk more about that. So that is how you schedule an LSI in patient navigation. I'm going to go ahead and turn it to Monica, and she's going to show you how to run a couple of reports. So we're switching places for 1 second. Okay.
Okay, so the first report I'm going to pull up, well, I've got to exit out of this first. Oh, I hit here, right, Holly? I'm not, okay, I want to make sure I'm not exiting out of something I shouldn't be. So this is a tab where you find the report. Right here, it says reports. Click on that. I will go ahead and maximize that. And so what I'm going to show you guys is the report that I use is a report that gives me labels for the full year of women that are due to come back that year. And I print off the labels for the entire year. So I have to come down here and find that, and that is going to be this right here called Annual Reminder List, All Labels, 40 to 49 for small districts. Oh, I'm sorry. I do 40 to 49 as well, but we're talking BYs right now. So that's the 50 to 64, actually. I'm sorry. So double-click that. And then the month doesn't matter because it will actually generate a list for the entire year, not just for a month. I have to make sure it's for the right year, which it is, and then you want to select the correct district you are in. So for us, that's Bear River Health Department, and then I will run the report. And that should pop up any minute now. And so there it is. What you're looking at right now are labels. And if I click on this arrow, I can see that it's multiple pages. So it's a pretty lengthy list, and it's all in alphabetical order. And I just go ahead and print that off, which you just want to click on this little icon of a printer. So I'll go ahead and click on that, and then you select the printer and go ahead and put your labels in the printer and print the entire document. I won't do that, just to show you, but so that's the first thing I will do at the beginning of the year. I've already done that for 2015. I did that back in January. So I have this existing hard copies of labels. After I've done that, then every month, I'll go ahead and exit out of this now. Then what I do at the beginning of every month, well, for example, for the month of March coming up. I'll either do it at the end of February or within the first week of March. I will go in to this report titled Annual Reminder List Labels 50 to 64 English by month, and also Annual Reminder List Labels 50 to 64 Spanish by month. So we have it broken up by language, but I'll just go ahead and do the English one now. And so if I was to do the month of March, I would go ahead and click March. I make sure that the year is 2015, and I also have to input the correct district. Again, Bear River Health Department, and I'll run that report. So it's generating the report for the month of March right now for the year 2015. And so these are all the women that are the English-speaking women between 50 to 64 that are due for a BWise visit during the month of March. So as I have this screen on my computer, I pull out my hard copy of all the labels I've already printed off, and I search for these specific women, and I send them a reminder letter, letting them know that they are due to come back for their visit that month. So as soon as they get their letter, they will call and make their appointment, and we will see them as soon as that appointment is scheduled. I hope that makes sense, but that's the way I've learned to do it. I've learned that it's the best way for me to do it without wasting a lot of label space. If I just print off the full year's report at the beginning of the year, and then each month I go and generate the report for that month, and I just view the ones that I need to send a letter to. I hope that is clear. So that is the one report I wanted to show. The other thing I wanted to show is kind of off subject with this report, so I'll go ahead and close out of this. I wanted to talk briefly about a tab called Findings History that I feel has been really helpful with Citrix. So I'll go ahead and search a patient. We'll just go with Maria Lugo again. So once I am in her file, I'll go into intervention as if I'm meeting with her, doing her first session. And you'll see this tab here next to patient navigation. It's called Findings History. And that to me has been really helpful in the past, because what it does, if you click on it, I'll go ahead and make that big too. You go here where it says category, click the arrow, and go down to BWise measurements. And, well, maybe Maria wasn't the best example because she doesn't have any history. But what would happen if Maria had been here back in 2013, 2012, 2011, and so on, it would show her history of all these values. And I find that really helpful because when I am meeting with a patient for their annual visit, I not only like to share their results from that day, but I also like to go back and do a comparison with the previous results they had when they came to see us. Typically that's, the previous year, but we have some women that maybe haven't come for a couple of years. But regardless, it's a good way to compare their progress to see if maybe their values have improved over time or maybe worsened, and it's just a good way to see the trend in their values and their overall health. So that's been a really helpful tool for me. I'll go ahead and close out of the findings history, and I think that is all I had. I'll give it back to Holly if she has anything to add.
So the one last thing that Bear River wanted to share that we love in the database, in the Citrix database, sounds kind of funny, but it's this little note section box. So what we have found is that when you are doing your first LSI, you're doing a session with a woman, and say I was to create a new session, it's face-to-face, and you go ahead and get to set the goals with that woman. There are a lot of really great default goals. Say I was going to set a goal with her to, I'm not sure what this one is, but let's look and see what this nutrition meat goal is. We have these drop-down menus with all of these really specific, great goals we can set with them. But sometimes we don't get that opportunity to kind of personalize it for the lady or for the woman we're meeting with. And so we have found that women really like to be valued. They like to feel like you remember who they are, and they like to feel like you care about them as people. And the way you can demonstrate that is by making some notes to yourself about maybe what the woman's been working on. So that's why we really love this note section here, is there's not anything in it, and there's no limit to the number of characters you can enter here. So it gives you that chance to kind of make notes to yourself so that when you're doing a follow-up at LSI with the client, you can really make their session personable. So, for example, often what I'll put here, we just had clinic today, and I met with a woman who, from the first time she started coming to our clinic, she's lost 50 pounds. So I often like to make myself a note about that so that when I call her back, even though her BMI is maybe still within the overweight to obese range, I still need to applaud her for the progress she's made. Otherwise, maybe she could be quite discouraged. So I'll say that. I'll make myself a note. She's lost 50 pounds. She also shared with me today how she had been losing that weight. She's been doing yoga 3 times per week. She does water aerobics once a week, and she does cardio, which was she likes the treadmill and the bike 2 times per week. And so now when I talk to her about, are you getting physical activity, I can ask her, are you still going to that water aerobics class? How is that? Can you tell me more details or more information about that versus just, are you exercising? This lady also shared today that she's made some dietary changes. So I would want to kind of maybe make myself a note about that she's made progress with dietary changes. And something she was really excited about is she no longer puts sugar in her coffee. So again, that might seem like a simple goal to you and I, but it was huge for her. So I would want to make myself a note about that so I could ask her. But then the goal that she set with me today that she was really struggling to work on is she said when she has stress in her life, the 2 things she defaults to is that she snacks on cookies and pastries, and that she also smokes, only just 3 cigarettes a day, but it's still her vice that she's just having a really hard time giving up. So we spoke about that, and I tried to get her to set a quit date, which she wasn't ready. So I like to make, again, a note of that, not ready to set a quit date, but did say she would do it within a year. But then she had given me some specifics. I instructed her that I'd be following up with her. So I said, is it okay if you're not home for me to leave a message? So I make that note. And okay to call her cell, because some women don't want you using their minutes. So I leave myself that note. And then she specifically asked me what she wanted me to follow up with her in 2 months. I said, I'll be calling you in 2 months. What would you want me to talk to you about? And so if that's applicable, that again would be information I'd want to capture in this note section box. And so after I do all of those things, you know, she told me her husband's a smoker. That's one of her challenges. It gives me more guidance for that next LSI, that I will know more details about what I should speak to her about versus just kind of a generic, how are you doing, how's your goal going, et cetera, et cetera. So since the database doesn't lend itself to a lot of that description, the note section works really well for us to be able to personalize and to make the BeWise program really meaningful. And So that was just one little other mention that we wanted to point out, that it's a super helpful tool for us that maybe you could try to use better as well. So without further ado, we will go ahead and turn the screen back over to Utah Department of Health for Salt Lake to share the patient navigation conversation. So thank you.
Thank you, Holly, and we'll go ahead and have Rosa present.
Yes, please. Hi, everyone. So I would definitely mimic what Holly had to say about the note section. We definitely use that quite a bit. We put in personal things that we talk to the clients about. Sometimes they'll tell you about their family, so we'll put in things about their family in there. Another thing that we put in that note section is when the best time is to call them. That helps us better reach them when we do have to, have multiple attempts. We know maybe a certain time of the day to call them or a certain day of the week. So we like to put that in the notes as well, and that helps us ensure that we are getting those follow-ups done. Kimberly here at the state had asked us to kind of go over how we at Salt Lake County use patient navigation on a daily basis. And we do. This is a huge thing for us that we use every single day. So if you were to sign in to UCCP, as you can see on this screen, right at the top it says patient navigation. So you would click on that, and of course this is a demo database, but normally it would just default to your name. And it gives you all of the things that you have to do for that day. Or that week, I should say. This is coming to daily. Daily, that's right. So you can adjust on here, on the interactions. You have a daily to-do list, a daily done list, so you can see what you've done that day as well. A weekly to-do list, a done list for the weekly, and then your total to-do list. So that one will be everything that you have to do in the system for, it's back on. Yeah, it's back on Joanna. So that's also another thing, actually. As you are changing back and forth to different things, normally when you are signed into UCCP, it'll default to your name. But if you wanted to see, for example, another coach's assigned tasks, maybe they needed a little bit of help and they're behind on sending out reminder letters or doing calls and you're ahead, you could go ahead and look at someone else's. So, for example, we'll look at Alicia's, who's another health coach with us, and it'll show you what she has left to do with these clients. So I would, be like, hey, Alicia, I'm caught up. Let me go ahead and look at your patient navigation, and I'll help you get some of these done. So that's good to kind of help one another and ensure that you are contacting these clients. Ideally, for us, we like to stick with one coach throughout, one client, the same coach throughout the year. But if we had fallen behind or something, that's one way you can help your coworkers. So to create, we do letters to send. We send out letters to the clients to remind them that we are going to be doing a follow-up with them. So to do that, let's say Cindy came into the clinic today, and we would click on the intervention, kind of as Holly had mentioned. We would put in the notes section, our notes of when to call her, what we talked about, goals and those kinds of things. And then we set the letter 2 weeks before we do our 2-month follow-up. So you would click right here on the schedule next LSI, and then you click on new, and of course it would automatically default to a VWise LSI. You would do it 2 months from now, so let's say April 20th. Of course you would assign it to yourself, And then we would do first-class mail to the patient, and it's going to be a letter and an LSI reminder. That just helps us so that when you save this, you can see, if we scroll down, right here, it says I have a follow-up reminder letter with her. So it tells you the details, the type, the purpose, what you're doing for each of these things. So then 2 weeks beforehand, I would look at my patient navigation, and it would tell me I have a letter to send out to remind this client that I will be following up. And then once we have completed that letter and sent it out, we would highlight that task and hit the complete button. So then it just takes it off that you've already done it. If you notice now, there's a little red check mark on that task that I've completed it. And then with the phone calls, we would schedule that same thing, that same day when we do talk to the client in the clinic. That's when we schedule the follow-up letter and the follow-up phone call. So you would do the same thing for a phone call. It should default to BY's LSI. 2 weeks or 2 months from now, since I had done the letter on the 20th, we'll do the follow-up phone call on May 4th. We would click the phone call to the patient, and then that's an individual LSI session. From there on, we don't do anything else because that gives us all the information that we need. But as you can see, there's lots of other options here that you can choose from. And so then you would save that, and as you can see, there is a phone call. Oh, I didn't set that to myself. So you could always go back and change and make sure that it is assigned to yourself. But normally when you're signed into this on your own account, it would default to your name. But as you can see, it's now assigned to me. So when I would do that phone call, I would, in the notes section, what we like to do when we do create this, for example, we have a lady, she tells me, call me on Wednesdays at 9 o'clock in the morning. So in the notes section when we create this, we like to write call at 9 a.m. or depending on what time they said would be a good time to call the client. So we have it in multiple places. We have it in our patient navigation task that we created, and then also in the notes for the intervention for that client as well. And then once we have called that client, let's say I did that call with the client, we would mark the task as completed. And for this, we do it a little bit differently. We open the interaction itself, and then we scroll down to the outcome. Let's say I called her and I was able to get a hold of her and we completed the session. You would click on phone LSI completed, and then of course you would put the date, and then that'll complete the task for you. If you save it, as you can see, it gives me the red mark. There are other options as well. So if I called her and I wasn't able to get a hold of her, I left a message with her. You can choose one of those options, or left a message with someone else, those kinds of things that you can choose. So then you can always see what the outcome was right under the outcome side. We were able to complete the LSI. If you can see previous, let's say she was in Utah County, she would have completed these 2 sessions. And then additional follow-up. So let's say I called Cindy and I didn't get a hold of her. That same day after I have left a message with that client, I would create a new task to call her the following week. So you just go in, choose the date, make sure it's assigned to yourself. You're going to do another phone call, and it's going to be for an individual LSI, and you're kind of reminding them as well that you're going to call them. So then you would save that. And then so for each time we do a follow-up, let's say we don't
get a hold of them the first time. We'll try another 2 times. And so each time you are going to make an attempt to call the client, you would want to create an interaction here for the client so that your patient navigation reminds you to continue to attempt to call the client and get a hold of them to complete that session.
On that note, I'm going to jump in real quick. This is something that I use a lot when I'm seeing if clients are either lost, when I'm wondering why clients haven't finished their LSI dosage. I look in patient navigation to see, are we trying to contact them and not getting a hold of them, or are we not contacting them? So is it on our end or on the client's end that they're not finishing the LSI? That's really important as we report to CDC how our program is going. So if you haven't been using this to record attempts, it would be really helpful for us here if you can.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
So I will switch it over to Alicia now so she can kind of show you how we do some other sections.
Thank you. So Rosa kind of showed how we use patient navigation to create letters and phone calls, and a little bit of how we did attempts, like Kim was saying. Background story before I kind of review again what we do. I came into BYs a little over 3 years ago before patient navigation, where we used Excel databases, we used print our own Word document, write everyone's name down and check it off with our pens, you know, anything besides, you know, a normal database. So when patient navigation was created, there was a little resistance because it's something new. And I'm so used to my writing it on a piece of paper and checking it off. I thought that was really effective. But as you get used to patient navigation, it may seem intimidating at first, but really it is way more effective. You don't have stray pieces of paper that you're crossing off and trying to keep track of with data and patient information on it. So really it keeps it clean. It's HIPAA protected. You are able to be more organized. So after, you know, getting trained on patient navigation and learning how to do it in an effective way, looking back on it now, it was funny. I'm switching positions right now, so I'm cleaning out my desk and going through all my BY's papers. I completely forgot I even did the whole paper and pen thing until I take out this folder of all these pages of crossed out and checked and notes that I had from, you know, years ago, and I showed Rosa all my stuff, and I was like, oh, wow, I used to do this. That's so funny. Anyway, so patient navigation really is a better way to do it once you get it down and get a hang of it. So I'll review just, again, briefly, kind of Rosa went through it, but repetition's good. So we'll do it again. Let's choose someone else. How about Debbie? Let's see what she is. So you can also, where'd she go? Patient navigation is down here when you get into someone. So if you had Debbie pulled up on your patient navigation and you wanted to see how many attempts you have done with Debbie, you can pull it up on this first page as well. Patient navigation is on multiple screens, so you can get to it from everywhere. Okay, Debbie is not good because she doesn't have a lot. Let's go back to Cindy.
She has a ton.
She has a ton. And let's organize it by date because that confuses me when it's not. Okay, so it's still not really organized by date, but okay, it's not a perfect organization. That is okay. So again, I can see, like Rosa had mentioned, how many times I have contacted a person, if I sent a letter, and if I've done some phone calls. So again, it's not in order. Usually it's in order, and you would see, you know, for example, pretend this said letter, and you sent the letter, and then the next 2 weeks later you had tried to call them, and you,
Let's move
the little
that.
down arrow right there. So it's going to stay in your way.
Oh, okay, awesome. So let's say you tried to call this person and you left a message and you were able to get a hold of them the first time. So like Rosa mentioned, you can click any of these other options of your attempt. If you're able to leave a message, if you left a message with someone else, sometimes their voicemail isn't set up, so it's just no answer, or it's full, or any other reason their phone's disconnected. So we click one of those boxes, but then in the notes we can explain a little bit more. For example, if it's the no answer one, and I don't know why, and I know it's because they didn't have a voicemail set up, I would just say voicemail was not set up, or something else to kind of give you an idea of what happened. And we like to put the time we called them, so we know, oh, I tried calling them in the afternoon, maybe next time I'll try in the morning. So as much detail as you want to try to get a hold of this person. And we put our initials just because we're multiple coaches, but you can do whatever you want with that. And then the day that you did it, save and close. So I can see on here, okay, I called them, there was no answer. If you want to see those additional notes you put, you can click down here, and it pulls up the notes, usually in order. But so, you know, I called them at 9 a.m. I happen to call the same day, but that's not usually how it is. And I called later. So you can pull up the notes to see what happened in the last few days. I'm going to change the date of this just so it's different. So then the next week comes. It's now after we called them on February 26th. I call the next week, so I set up a new, I said, okay, today they did not answer. I'll try again next week. So it's March 5th. Whoever I am, we'll just stick with Rosa. Oh, and an LSI. So I'm going to try to call them again next week and save and close that. So then next week comes along. It's now March 5th. She pops up on my patient navigation, and this time I called her and I left a message. She somehow had a voicemail back and it was working, but she didn't answer. So again, we like to put it in the notes so that we can pull it up on the notes screen. So kind of having that double thing. And this time I called her in the morning, and I kind of left that. Save and close. Oh, and the date. I completed it. So you can complete it from this screen, or you can complete it inside, whatever your preference is. So then I'm going to call them again. I called them March 5th. This time I'm going to call them the next week. Let's do a Friday just to switch it up. Maybe they'll be better on a Friday. LSI, I'm going to do another phone call. Save it. Pops up on my patient navigation. So now March, what date are we on? Oh, I put Joanna. That's okay. March 13th rolls around. I call Cindy again. And I'm just not having luck with Cindy, and her phone's disconnected. So her phone was disconnected. I try to call her at a different time, and I have made multiple, oh, and you can say I completed it right here or in the other screen. So we're going to go to the date where we're March 13th is when we called her. So now you can see all these multiple attempts either in notes or on the screen. So I left messages, voicemail wasn't set up, phone was disconnected, and again, like Kim was saying, we want to make sure we are documenting every attempt so that when we mark them as lost, we can show that we actually tried to attempt to call them multiple times before we completely give up on them. So again, so CDC and the state can see that all the different attempts that we have made. At Salt Lake County Health Department, we try to call at least 3 times before we mark them as lost. And now we're adding an additional letter now, so we send them 2 letters. Again, we don't want to lose our clients. We do all we can, but when phones are disconnected, they moved, we don't have any way to get a hold of them, you do have to mark them as lost. So, but you do want to make those multiple attempts. But hopefully you do contact them on the second or third time and are able to complete that LSI and then start a new session. So that's a lot of scenarios of how attempts work and how you can keep track looking on your patient navigation or pulling it up in notes that are more detailed so you can see what's going on with that client. I think. Reassigning. So last, for patient navigation, Rosa showed that you can pull up other people, other coaches, and see what's on their to-do list. We'll X out of Cindy. So going to the normal patient navigation. So for example, like I said, I'm changing positions. So our Rebecca would be taking over all of my people. So I would go into my patient navigation and go in and reassign all of my people. Rebecca's not in here yet because this is an old database. Let's say I give it to Rosa. So I'll just say Rosa's going to take over my people. And I save and close it, and now it's Rosa. So I can go in and assign if you have people changing positions. You can reassign it to someone. If someone, any other circumstance, out sick, vacation, you can go in and manually switch maternity leave. Yeah, all those things you can go in and switch who's assigned and make it a different coach. So you can always keep track of our clients. We don't want anyone falling through the cracks, and we want to make sure everyone's being contacted.
And the way, this is a demo right now. The way UCCP is set up, we can only see the people in our own health district. So I would only be able to assign it to Alicia or to Mercedes or to Rebecca, another one of the health coaches within Salt Lake County, so that you're not looking at the whole list of different coaches that are working in the state.
I'll make one note on that. This is Nicole. As you can see, the way patient navigation is set up, it's to follow a client throughout the whole time that they're involved with UCCP. So you can see the notes will show you all the years, and anyone who's entered notes will show up there. The purpose of that is mostly for the nurses here. It's really helpful for them to see over time all the things that have happened, even not just for one enrollment year. So along those lines, if a client has been enrolled at one health district and then 2 years later they go to another one, if you, on the assigned to, there's a blank space at the top. If you click on that, it actually will show you in the to-do list. It will show you other, if there's I'm pointing like you can see me. If there's interactions that aren't complete and it's not complete, other people's interactions will show up if they've been in another health district. So it's probably, and that's not a problem, but you probably only want to see your list or who you work with. So just note that if you use that blank spot at the top, you will see other interactions from years past. Because this does follow the person over time. The other thing I wanted, could you show too on that? Yeah, on the is complete at the top is a filtering, so that you don't have to see if you wanted your to-do list just to show. Probably not yet. Oh, sorry. No, it's probably not, because there's a lot of interactions on this person that are complete, so it might take a second. But you probably want to have that. I think it defaults. Does it default? No. So you wouldn't see all. It wouldn't be as complex as this looks. The default to is not complete. So and so I just wanted to make note that it is over time, so you will see all the interactions. So
going along with what Nicole was saying, it's kind of grayed out right now, but in the advanced search criteria, it gives you sections that you can choose For example, if you want to choose a day that you're going to be sending out all those reminder letters, you would just click first class mail or other mail or something, and you could just do all of those in one day, whatever it was assigned to. Do you want to click on like first class mail?
No, is that
Too many things.
Yeah.
So if you want to choose like one specific task that you want to do for that day or that little chunk of time, that is also another great feature in patient navigation that we've used quite a bit in the past as well.
Oh, and two, if you are in a record and you know that the person's going to come back in a couple months and you aren't going to be here to do that, or you know someone else is going to do it, you can, at that point that you're doing that, you can assign them to somebody else. And you can assign it to one person if there's one person that does all of the health coaching, you know, or if we're going to assign other people, you can put that person's name.
And then I did say that we mark people as lost. I don't know if everyone knows what that means. So just in case, in this intervention status, right now they're open because we're trying to coach them. So if you do have multiple attempts and you can't contact them, this is where you would change their status to lost. This helps reporting-wise because when we do some reports to see if we've contacted all our people, if they're still marked as open, but you've tried to contact them, it kind of messes stuff up because we see all these open people, but they're really just lost.
Yeah.
So try to mark what their actual status is, and it will automatically close when you finish all their contacts, but it will not automatically go to lost or confused. Refused. I hope you're not confused.
That intervention status is super important too for when we run reports here to see how you're doing as far as completing your client sessions. If it's marked lost or refused, then it won't hold you accountable for those. So it takes it out of the mix. So that's a good thing to do.
Do you have anything else, Nicole? Okay, so are there any, we'll take questions. If there are any questions, go ahead and ask them now. And again, you can either ask on the phone or you can chat the questions on your sidebar. And let me just make sure you're all unmuted.
I have a question.
Sure. Who is this?
This is Janet in Wasatch County.
Hi, Janet.
I was just wondering what their letter says that they send out before they call them or before they complete their LSI.
It's a great question. So the letter that we send out thanks them for being in the program. We kind of give them a reminder of who we are. You know, we let them know you came into the BWise program a couple of months ago, you had some screenings done, and you met with a coach and set some goals. So then we, in that letter, provide them with the goals that they set with us in the clinic. And then we let them know we will be calling you to talk about your goals and, of course, to answer any questions that you have as far as your health is concerned. And then we let them know what day and what time we will be calling them.
If you're interested in the language of that letter, we can send that out.
I'd love to get it.
Okay. Thanks, Janet. Do we have any other questions?
And one thing we found that's helpful with scheduling a 2-month follow-up, as Rosa mentioned, is asking a specific day and time. So UTCP, you can put, call in the morning or afternoon, but we have found it helpful to actual schedule like a Wednesday at 9 or an actual day, kind of like a doctor's appointment, so that they are more aware. And then when we send the letter, they're by the phone at 9 o'clock on a Wednesday morning. So we kind of keep track of that in a Outlook calendar thing because UCCP doesn't do that right now, but that is helpful so they are at a specific time ready for you to call. Previously, we just called them whenever, and we found that we'd have way more attempts than having a specific day and a specific time to call, and we put that in the letter so that they're ready to go.
So we do have another question here online. It says, has the letter shown to be helpful in getting a hold of clients?
Yes, definitely.
Like I just said, especially when you have that time and date that I'm calling, you know, March 2nd at 10 in the morning, and it's on the letter, and it has a reminder of their goals. A lot of them say, I got your letter, and I'm waiting for your call, and I'm ready to talk to you. Not all of them do that, but...
Yeah, and one of the things that we've noticed that has been helpful with is we do send it out 2 weeks before we call them, so they kind of know ahead of time. And let's say, for example, they're planning on going on vacation or, you know, out of town or something. They've already got that letter, and if they know that they're not going to be around or they won't be able to answer the call at that time, we provide them with our contact information so they can call us, and we can do it sooner or reschedule it for another date or anything like that.
Holly and Monica, do you have anything to add? I know you guys do letters a little bit differently.
Yeah, we were just saying we would be interested to hear how that letter increases the success rate of getting that call completed. Our kind of protocol that we've been following is we try to phone the women we make 3 attempts. And then if we're not successful with that 3rd attempt, then we do send a letter, and we include a self-addressed stamped postcard that says we've had difficulties in reaching you or wondering if you're still interested in the program. Please return this card. And on the card, it gives them the option to mark if they want to discontinue the participation in LSIs, if they want to mark the card that, yes, I want to continue, and please call me. The better time to reach me now is at this time at this number. Or it gives them the option for us to be able to send them follow-up in the mail or through email. So we kind of give them that option. And Monica and I were just saying it's been a little tricky with that last LSI that the final assessment needs to be completed. And that's been something we've been trying to increase, making sure that those get finished. So we did just type up a Word document of all of those questions, and also made it as a Google form so that we could email the assessment to a woman, or we could send it to her in the mail so that we get all of those completed. And if she'll finish that final assessment for her, then we provide her with one of the BWise incentives. And I was just saying to Monica, I did send out 5 of those letters just a couple of weeks ago, and I've got 4 back. So it's a way to use your incentives to make sure that we're getting feedback from those women. But that's how we do the letters, is we don't send a reminder letter. Rather, we send a letter when we are being successful in reaching them by phone.
Thanks, Holly. We will send out the language, and you can see if that's something that you'd be interested for your area. I don't know that we have data on whether or not a letter prior would increase the response rate. We don't have that. So it would be anecdotal data if you want to give it a try.
And we do also, by the 3rd time, if we don't get a hold of them, we will send them another reminder letter letting them know we've tried to get a hold of you, and we haven't had any luck, so please just give us a call back or send us an email, whatever's easiest for you. So we do kind of both at the beginning and at the end.
Great. We have another question here. It says, on the incentives you give them for finishing the final assessment, do you mail the incentive, Holly?
Yes, I do. And so I bought some padded envelopes and purchased those. And we went through our inventory of what we weren't, what we had the most of and what we weren't distributing, and that's how we made a decision of what we would send to them. So we do mail them, and we do that in a padded envelope.
And depending on how many incentives you had at Salt Lake County, we give that option for every single LSI, so they call us back. So in that reminder letter, we do list the incentives they can do for completing their phone call with us, so that incentivizes them to do every phone call with us. So, so that's a part of the letter too, that makes the letter useful. Not only does it give the date and time and their goals, but it says if you talk to us, you can get an incentive. So. And we include the final assessment questions as well in the final letter. So it is helpful.
Okay, any other questions?
So is it okay to use email and texting?
Email is an option, yes. I don't know about texting. We have not had that question. So let me find out and see. I don't know that CDC would acknowledge a text, would they?
For a coaching session?
So you...
No, not for a coaching session, just as a reminder.
As a reminder?
We'll be calling tomorrow at such and such a time.
Yeah, a reminder, I think, is fine.
Yeah, for reminders, I think it's open for whatever you want to do to remind your women. I think that is appropriate.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I want to thank Holly and Monica and Alicia and Rosa. It's always nice to have somebody who's in the database often and frequently and using it on the clinical side to explain, and so you can get an idea. Each health department uses the database a little bit differently, but we're really hoping that you can use it to benefit you and to make your life easier. That's the goal, to not make it harder, but to make it easier. I just wanted to end with a reminder or to let you know that we will be having a conference in May. It's May 12th and 13th. It's a day and a half, and it will be a full motivational interviewing conference. We really want as many people as possible who do health coaching and risk reduction counseling for BeWise to be there. If you want to attend one of these trainings on your own, they cost about $600 for registration alone. So this is really pricey. It's a really amazing opportunity. And so if you're interested in going, please talk with whomever you need to talk with. And or if you have questions, feel free to contact Kaylin or myself. Thanks again. Oh, also, if you are interested in a test database, so the database that you saw today that we used for this webinar is a test database, meaning scrambled data. So if you want to get in and kind of dabble around and see different features in the database, you can do that without fear of deleting or ruining somebody's record. All you need to do, you can contact Joanna or Nicole, and they can set you up to have access to that test database. It's also really good for training new people who will be starting. So let Nicole or Joanna know. Okay, thank you for your attending today, and we will see you soon.